Welcome to the Purpose to Create podcast with Natasha Wright, a business podcast for photographers and creativepreneurs who want to level up as they pursue their purpose to create. Lean in as we connect, inspire, and impact you as you build and grow your business.
I'm so hyped that you're here and listening to today's show. Today's guest is Joy Michelle, a photographer, educator, and YouTuber based in Annapolis, Maryland. As a YouTuber, Joy aims to educate and empower aspiring photographers to grow profitable and thriving businesses. She loves helping photographers get paid to do what they love from YouTube. In today's episode, we're chatting all about leveraging YouTube to connect with your audience. Hey, Joy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Natasha. Thank you so much for having me. You definitely make me sound a lot cooler than I actually am, but I'm excited to be here.
That's because you are cool.
Thanks, girl.
Yeah. So a little fun fact about Joy and I, we met several years ago. We can't remember the date, but it was many years ago. And we met at Liz Fogarty's workshop.
Yes. Yeah. Learning about wedding photography.
Yeah, we were learning about wedding photography. So it's so exciting to have you on the show to talk about what you've been up to since the workshop and all the new ventures you have going on, but especially YouTube. So I'm really, really excited to see how we can leverage YouTube because quite honestly, I shy away from YouTube. I only use it to watch shows and music videos and all other things not related to business. So I'm excited to see how I can really maximize YouTube for my business.
Oh yeah, YouTube is super exciting for creatives. And I used to be just like you and I was pretty much just a YouTube consumer, but I hope that I can inspire you and your listeners to just make that shift and adventure a little bit more into the creative side because it can really pay off in your business.
I'm really pumped to hear about it today. But before we do, I always got to ask about your journey. So tell me a little bit about your journey as a creative entrepreneur. And then also, you just had a little baby girl.
I did,
so
yes.
Congratulations and welcome to mommyhood as a creative, because I know it's a whole new world being a mama. But we'll get more into that later because that is a part of your creative journey too. So let's jump right into it.
Yeah. So, I began wedding photography in 2012, I want to say, because it pretty much lined up perfectly with my own wedding. And that's really what inspired me to get into wedding photography. At the time, I was just a hobbyist. I never thought that I could do much with photography, to be honest. I didn't really know about that whole world of weddings. And at the time, I was attending the University of Maryland and I was majoring in graphic design. But I was also engaged and I hired our wedding photographer for my husband and I's wedding. And that was my first peek into this whole world that somebody could do this for a living. And I saw that and I was trying to figure out how I could not spend the rest of my life in a cubicle. And I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do weddings. And that's really just what sparked the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I guess it was 2014, 2015 that things really ramped up, went full time, really started specializing in weddings and love stories and everything that revolved around that world. And I haven't really looked back since. I'm still doing that. And just a couple years ago, I started venturing into YouTube. And really what started me into YouTube was my little brother, he has a YouTube channel and he's in the music genre. And he had started that in college. And every time we talk on the phone, he'd be like, Joy, you have to start a YouTube channel. And I had always kind of wanted to, but I never really knew, like, what do I have to say on a YouTube channel, really? And I guess, honestly, I thought about it for like a year. I sat on it and had just mostly all these weird objections and fears. And he would just tell me like, nah, you're crazy. Like, you have to do this and it's going to pay off. Like, you're going to find success and you're going to find your people and your community and you have something valuable to share. And after a year of thinking about it and talking about it, I eventually decided to upload my first video. And I think I was waiting for permission to begin and an invitation, as if somebody was going to just pop into my DMs and be like, you should start a YouTube channel and educate us all on photography and how it all began. And that's just not going to happen. And it didn't happen. Spoiler alert. So I gave myself permission and I did it. And now my channel is, I guess it's approaching 25,000 subscribers. And the education side of my business has really grown because of it.
And so you mentioned that you had to give yourself permission. What obstacles or hurdles or fears or any of those things, how did you pump yourself up to give yourself permission? Because a lot of times as creative entrepreneurs, and I know that I do this too, I find a lot of excuses not to do a thing when there are more reasons why I should do it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I had different fears just about what it would actually look like. On one hand, I thought, what if I get all these hater comments or just like the trolls of the internet? And, there's a couple of things that my brother told me. He was like, listen, you can turn off the comments, number one, which a lot of people don't know. And you can also set the comments to be moderated so that you can just go through and approve them. And that way, if something is crude or not cool and you don't want that to be on your channel and you don't know about it because you're not in there every single day checking, that was something that was on my mind. And I later realized it was irrational. Plus, no one was actually on my channel at the time because I hadn't created it. So no one was going to troll me. Another thing that was in my head and giving me so much pause was the technology, the tech, and just not knowing where to start and seeing all these really established YouTube channels that had huge communities and followings and all this like up here level 10 work and video quality. And I just needed to realize done is better than perfect, and your quality of your content. I'm not a videographer. I'm not trying to go out and book gigs as a videographer. So really it's not the video quality so much as it is what I'm saying. So the biggest hangups were mostly in my head, that I needed to quiet all of those doubts and all of that noise and get out of my own way and simply start and be okay with not knowing exactly how it was going to look until I did it, and being willing to be a student of the whole process and learn as I go.
And after you actually got started, the fears that you had, did you realize that you didn't have to really worry about any of those things?
I did.
Your perception versus your reality once you got started.
It really, the comment thing, it just didn't end up mattering that much. I mean, I grew up with 3 brothers, so now I think it's funny that I was thinking, what is someone going to say about me? And you hear, siblings, they just give it to you straight. So I don't know what I was ever worried about. Occasionally you'll get a rude or a mean comment and you can just delete it, or you can leave it. Sometimes I leave it because I think it's funny. But I did have my channel set to, go ahead and approve comments. And then I realized that it was not something I should be worried about anymore. So I took that off. And I think it was just something that I built up in my mind before I'd actually done it. And really it was just something that I was getting in my own way.
So thanks for sharing that, because I think that a lot of times that we get so caught up in our minds, and like you said, we get in our own ways, that we kind of not get started. And like you said, done is better than perfect. And all we have to do is just start. And it's not going to be as scary as we think. So this is for somebody who is out there who should be starting a thing, whatever your thing is, and you know what that is. This is your permission to get started, and not permission from me, but to give yourself permission to give yourself permission. So I think that just start, because you never know where it can end up. And I'm so excited that you shared that, because a lot of times I'm always curious to know, what things did you have to just push yourself through to get started? So that was really eye-opening. So I want to talk about balance really quickly, because I know that you are a new mama and you are a wedding photographer. And,
I am.
And you're an educator, and you're a YouTuber, and you're a wife, and a sister, and a daughter. So how are you balancing all of these things?
Girl, I am still very much learning this, but something that I have found is just to have extremely clear priorities and fully knowing and acknowledging that I can't do everything. I really simply can't. So I have to focus on what I can do with my limited time as a working mother, and have some really clear boundaries for myself. And that looks like clear working hours, batching, and honestly, outsourcing, getting help, hiring a VA, and just realizing, honestly, lastly, that done is going to be better than perfect. And 80% there is better than never hitting publish, never hitting send, because there's so much that I used to never do because I didn't think I could do it fully. And that was silly because then I didn't accomplish anything. So
Right.
I wasn't putting anything out into the world because I wanted it to be something that I didn't have time to commit to, or something that I couldn't do with my current budget. And that's just ridiculous. So realizing that I can get 80% of the way there and help people has been huge.
Thanks so much for sharing with us about how you balance it all. I think it was really important to kind of assert that in, because once we talk about leveraging for YouTube, we'll see that it's really not as big and scary as we think, and we can just get started. Like you said, done is better than perfect. So we're going to hop back into the topic, which is leveraging YouTube to connect with your audience. And I want to talk about some easy ways that creatives can start using YouTube to leverage in their business.
Yes, I think that what you said about it not needing to be as complicated as I think we see on the viewing end of YouTube, it really doesn't need to be that complicated as the actual creator. And one great way that I think any business can implement video and YouTube into their marketing approach would be behind the scenes, like sharing a little bit of your process, sharing a little bit of what it would look like to hire you, to work with you, to hire you or to work with you. That is going to build trust. People are curious naturally. They want to see what that would look like. And that's another way that video wouldn't have to be added on to your workload and something else that you'd have to add to your content. You could kind of couple it up and pair it with something you're already doing and basically record what it is that you do. Where is that zone of genius and what value can you offer your audience, and just go ahead and share that as you're doing it naturally as what people would be hiring you to do anyway.
And how are you actually capturing this? Would you do it with your camera phone, or do we need to worry about setting up cameras on tripods? Because not just photographers, but all creatives should be doing behind the scenes, because like you said, it's building that trust factor. And then also people are more likely to buy from people they know, like, and trust. And so they're starting to see people's personality through these behind the scenes video. But how could we actually capture that without breaking the bank?
I mean, your phone is more than enough, honestly. The lens, the sound, everything, as long as you're in a well-lit area, you can get an incredible video. And that's why, I got into this, because I just kept hearing that message of, you know what, that thing in your pocket can make a video and you don't have an excuse anymore. And then as a professional photographer, I was like looking over at my gear in the corner thinking, okay, I really don't have an excuse. So, I mean, if you have a phone or a camera, or even just a flip camera, something more casual, point and shoot, really anything is going to be better than nothing. But honestly, nowadays, just the way that iPhones and Androids are built, they're incredible, and it's more than enough. A lot of people have built very successful YouTube channels on just camera phone footage.
And are you being very specific as to the types of behind the scenes you're showing? Are you showing behind the scenes of you working, or like an administrative day working like that? Or are you showing you shooting a session or a day in a life, or you as a mom? Like, how do you pick and choose what you want to show as your behind the scenes?
Yeah, so I think that before you begin making any video content or starting a YouTube channel, it's going to be imperative that you sit down and think about who your audience is and who you're trying to serve. And so as a photographer, I decided to take the route of education versus education for my couples. So while I'm not educating brides and grooms on posing and, where they should have their engagement session, I am educating photographers. That became the compass in what kind of videos I would be creating for my business. So as far as behind the scenes, I started out just having like my iPhone or having an assistant film me when I was shooting a styled shoot, engagement session, or a wedding day, just little clips here and there whenever it was possible, when things weren't too crazy. And that's really how I started. And from there, it's grown just because people will specifically request a day in the life type of thing, or they will request to see what my office setup might look like, or that kind of thing. So I think initially you can start with what you think your audience will need, but then be open to receiving those comments, and they're going to tell you what they want to see next. And that's the beauty of something like YouTube. It's not just a monologue, it's a conversation, and you get a community feel. So really what I started creating has kind of shifted a little bit over the years based on what my audience tells me they want.
And so let's jump into another thing. So we talked about behind the scenes, but I heard you mention your audience. So I want to know, how are you engaging your audience in your YouTube community?
Yeah. So, I mean, hanging out in your comment section is really important. And I heard somebody say early on when I was trying to learn as much as I could about YouTube, with that, you got to be present in those comments. And especially if you're worried about what will happen in your comment section, somebody said, the kids aren't going to talk about their parents when they're right there. So if you're there in your comment section, people probably aren't going to say much because they know you're actually there. You're actually looking and you comment back. So not only is that going to help you avoid any, spam, but it really starts to build and nurture those relationships. And people are surprised when you take the time to answer their questions, or they say, hey, could you make a video about this? And you actually do it. That's a subscriber for life. And not just a subscriber, but a friend and someone that's in your community. So it started out with comments, but then as the channel started growing, I thought, you know what, let's create a Facebook group. Let's go a little bit deeper in this and make it private, make it something that's just a little bit more intimate than this, tens of thousands group, and make it a little smaller where people can get their questions answered, especially if they're starting out and they just feel like they might get attacked for asking a question about full frame versus crop sensor or something kind of niche. So that's when Photo Boss kind of came out, and I just decided, hey, let's see if there's an interest. And I created the group, and it just really took off, and people really told me basically this is something that they need in their lives. And it's grown. I think it's only like a year old now. So it's a little more recent, but the Facebook group has definitely been a big part of the community feel that we've been trying to foster.
And I love how you were able to even up level your audience experience with creating a Facebook group as an extension of your YouTube community. So I think that's, like you said, it contributes to the intimate feeling that you're building for your YouTube community and gives them a space to be able to ask questions freely.
Yeah, which is huge. It's really important. And it's another place that you can go live and, be top of mind, even share your videos. And then people aren't just constantly only seeing you over on YouTube. They're able to see you somewhere else as well. So it's really a great way to kind of convert some of those subscribers to follow you on other platforms as well.
Right. And in addition to behind the scenes photos, not photos, but behind the scene, in addition to behind the scenes footage for your YouTube community, what are other ways you're using YouTube to leverage your business?
Another great way that I can lead into sales and clients is to craft content around topics that I have courses in. So I have a marketing and branding course for wedding photographers. And so I've created playlists and content around those specific topics that really naturally lead into those courses. I also have an accelerator mentorship program where photographers can work with me one-on-one. And that's a really natural progression as people get to know me and trust me. And I talk about topics that I love to go really deep in these mentor sessions with. It's a natural, click through the description section type of thing where people start to see what else I have to offer. And those are also things that I talk about inside of the Facebook group. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. So yeah, it makes sense to me. Like you use it as a way to really position yourself as a subject matter expert for your classes and mentoring. I took it as this is how you position yourself as an educator in this space, and YouTube is an extension of that.
Yeah.
Is that where you were going with that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. No, it made sense to me. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it made sense. Okay, we're going to talk about one more thing and then we can wrap up. So we talked about behind the scenes photos, using it as a way to position yourself in your industry. And what's another way you use YouTube?
I think that YouTube works really well for audience building. So to grow quickly, just because of everything I hear I feel like video has gotten so big and it is so much easier to consume as the consumer, I feel, because you can just listen to it. It's kind of just like this podcast. So getting in on that is going to take you so much further, and the content tends to lean a lot more evergreen. And I think that that's something big, whereas, social media accounts, it's important to be present on some of these accounts, but the life of a post is very different, almost like the life of a tweet is, just a couple seconds. The life of an Instagram post may be just a couple of days, but a video can work for you for years. And I have videos that I created years ago that are leading people to my Facebook group, that are leading them to my email list, that are leading them to my programs and my coaching. So it's almost like the top of the funnel, I would say.
Right.
And it's like your big net, and everything kind of comes down from there.
No, I would agree. I think that, I've been watching your videos for a couple of years now, since about 2017. So you're right. They're there. But if I were to go on your page, I wouldn't see that information, because it's been so, it's gone now. But like you said, there is a place where your knowledge base lives on YouTube.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to know something, they could go back and check your archives and binge watch like I did and get caught up and just wait for the latest YouTube to drop.
So really, just to summarize, a simple way to begin creating YouTube videos for your business, regardless of the creative industry that you're in, behind the scenes videos are going to be an amazing way to pull back the curtain on your business, bring them in, build that trust, and hopefully also start nurturing a community.
No, I love all these gems that you dropped, and I can't wait to see how I can start leveraging YouTube in my own business. This has been really enlightening. So thanks for exposing us to YouTube. And before we go, I wanted to know if you could, some quick ways that we could get started to kind of get out of our own head and just start. What would be kind of your key takeaways to just start?
To simply start, I think that the beauty of starting is that you often don't have a lot of subscribers or people watching you. And that's actually a good thing. It's actually a blessing. And so pick your topic, decide where you're going to be the expert, what are you going to share, and what value are you going to bring. And you definitely do have value. You know something that someone else doesn't, and you can share that with them. So I would say pull out your phone, get in front of some natural light, and share a quick couple-minute video on exactly something that you bring to the table in your business, something that you do maybe behind the scenes, how you get ready to do something in your business, and share it. See what your audience has to say about it, and then listen to that feedback and listen to what people want to hear from you next. You're going to be pleasantly surprised with the results of those comments. People are going to tell you what they want to hear from you, and then you can go ahead and let that shape where your content is going. So let it be a conversation. So you don't really need to come up with that many video ideas when it really comes down to it. Simply start, share a little bit of your business, share a little bit of your expertise, and let them share with you what they want to hear next.
Thanks for sharing those tips to help us get started. I think it's a great encouragement for anybody who's been struggling with getting started. So thanks so much for that. And tell us how we can stay connected with you after the show.
My YouTube channel is named Joy Michelle Photography. My Facebook group is called Photo Boss with Joy Michelle, and I'm Joy Michelle on Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I can't wait to see you very soon.
Yeah, you too, girl. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Purpose to Create podcast. Share, like, comment, or review this episode. Check out the show notes at www.purposetocreatepodcast.com and connect with us online at Purpose to Create.